You are watching the Weekend Sports Kickoff right here on KNWT Channel 8. And welcome in to the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I am Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, Kramer Sansone. As a little bit late starting today, but we're here now as it's time to talk about some Bearcat sports. The baseball team lost game 1 today versus Northern State 6-0, and Kramer was actually calling that game, play-by-play for us for KZLX. Kramer, what kind of happened in that game? Northwest just didn't quite show up to hit, looked like.
Well, the pitching for Northwest really didn't prevail as what most people would think, because the pitching for Northwest, Eddie Craybear only went 2 innings and a third. Really wasn't very good solid work for him. He did give up 4 earned runs off 5 actually scoring. But after that, only one more run came across by Jimmy McElwain. Comes in and just actually lights out of the bullpen. Bullpen actually helped out. It's just the starting pitching wasn't there. And we'd have a lot of people left on base. And because we had 6 hits, no runs. That's the bad part.
So just couldn't quite get one played there. Austin Hall will be on the call for X106, so 106.7 FM or KZLXFM.com. That game 2 will start here shortly, and he'll be on the call for that.
The rubber match of this 3-game series.
Yes, it will. Northwest won the first game 9-2 yesterday, lost the one earlier today 6-0, and now it's time for game 3 to see who wins the season series.
I wouldn't be surprised if a guy from Northern State hits another home run. As he hit one yesterday, he hit one today. That probably still hasn't landed that he hit in the second inning. It was crushed.
It was a dinger. So, yeah. So what do you guys think about this series right now with Northern State?
Well, I'll start it off. Honestly, right now, bullpen's doing amazing. Bullpen, if you can get at least a solid 5 innings pitching from your starters, their bullpen comes in and saves it for them most of the time anyways, even if they even get to the closer position, as it's just their pitching. This series is not bad. It's not, you can't say it's definitely good since Northwest did lose their first game of the doubleheader. But then again, it was 7 innings. So, the next 2 innings could have been something different for Northwest. But, yeah, they have the full 9 innings this time, and hopefully the bats come along and score.
I think you look at this series against Northern State, it's good for them to get some experience outside the conference in the middle of the season. You don't, in the other sports around here, you don't see that very often. Once you get into conference play, you're in conference play. The beauty of this is that they get some action outside of the conference in the middle of the season where they're, continuing to gain experience, and they've kind of got the feel for it now, and now they get some out of conference action. It's good to see. Now, Northern State is not a great baseball team. They're certainly not top half of the NSIC. So I think you're a little bit disappointed in the performance in game 1 today, but now you just got to come back in game 2 and try to get a win.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, closing the series out today, the next Tuesday they'll have a game versus Nebraska Kearney at 3 o'clock. Trying to get revenge there as they went up to Kearney a couple weeks ago, and that did not go well. 17-1 win for Nebraska Kearney in that one.
And in the big series you look at is Central Missouri coming up next week. Central is number 2 in the conference. They're a team that the Northwest is going to be competing with during the rest of this season. They're going to be jockeying back and forth for position at the top part of this conference, and I think this Northwest team has a legitimate chance at competing in this conference tournament, and they're going to need this momentum against this Central Missouri team going into that.
And through MIAA play right now, Pitt State right now is on the decline. They lost a couple MIAA conference games in a row. So let's see if that stays true and maybe get more of a lead on Pitt State.
And, of course, Central Missouri, those games will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next weekend, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. So maybe the first hour next week will be on radio for the WSK, and then it'll be radio broadcast over there. So it'll be TV only for the final 2 hours next Friday versus Central Missouri for the baseball. And then we'll transition to softball real quick. They're having a nice little season so far. They just had a doubleheader with Missouri Western on Tuesday. They lost game 1-8-0, won game 2-1-0, and of course today at 2 o'clock they just started a game down in Bolivar against Southwest Baptist, part of a doubleheader, 2 and 4 o'clock. So we'll keep you updated on those games as well. But Ryan, you kind of talked about the softball team earlier with Bearcat Update. What did you think about the softball team right now?
Well, I think you look at this team and they are hitting the ball really well. Hit 341 as a team this year, as you just pulled up the stats. 2-0 Northwest Missouri State in the bottom of the third.
Yep.
Yeah, bottom of the third inning. And so, they're hitting the ball really well. As a team hitting 341, they've got a couple of really good hitters in the middle of that lineup, Caitlin Weiss and Aaron Heaney. Weiss with 8 home runs on the year, Heaney with 10. And I think, you look at this team and with the pitching of Rachel Smith, who last in the second game against Missouri Western pitched a 2-hit shutout, has a 2.20 ERA on the year, 9 complete games in 13 starts. She's 9-1 on the year. I think if you combine that pitching with what they've done at the plate thus far as a team, this is a dangerous team at this point. 7-3 in conference play right now is a good place to be, sitting at third like the baseball team is.
Our final subject for Bearcat Athletics, of course, we want to remind you that the spring game is April 12th. We'll have that game here on X106 at 6 o'clock, I believe, that Thursday night. We'll broadcast that to you. But we're going to the women's basketball team. Of course, Austin Meyer was hired over spring break. I talked about a little bit with our producer, Joe, last week's show when we threw something together, but I want to get your guys' opinion on Austin Meyer being hired as the women's basketball coach and what he's going to do for the program. Go to you first, Ryan.
I think you look at Austin Meyer, and first of all, I think it's a fantastic hire for the women's basketball program. Austin was on the way to becoming a head coach somewhere, and we were, as an athletic department, Northwest was able to keep him in Maryville, and that's a really good thing because Austin Meyer has a lot of potential to be a very good head coach. And he's learned from one of the best in Coach McCollum. He's got the ability now to take that mindset, to take Coach McCollum's philosophies and that culture and move it over to the women's basketball team. He's going to have a lot of opportunity to do that. It sounds like he's preparing to really create his own team. There's a lot of young talent on the team this year, bringing in some talent of his own that he can recruit. And I think that with Austin Meyer, there's a potential anyway that we could see some this women's basketball team on the rise pretty quick.
One thing I don't like with a lot of hires is when they take someone in-house and move them to somewhere else. That's not the case with this hire. With this hire, this is a great move by Northwest to take someone, like you said, under McCollum, learn there, and put him over to the women's program. I think being able to learn and see the way that a program was built and then take that and put that to the women's program will really, I think we'll see a very quick rise for this women's program.
No, I agree. This is a great thing for Meyer to step in as a new head coach for the women's basketball team, because we noticed the women's basketball team this year, it was just like an odd season for them because nobody expected them to be so poorly, even though they actually had decent games throughout the season. But this is a great coach with Meyer coming in and with all of his recognition, all his skill level from what McCollum has taught him through the men's basketball team, could easily make a very good turnaround to these women's. And
one thing about Coach Meyer, he's a really good recruiter. So they already have some talent on the roster, but the talent is going to get rose up a little bit by his recruiting ability, and they're going to be a lot of young talent coming in next year to already supplement all the sophomores and seniors they have in this roster right now. So
yeah,
I'm excited for the future of this roster.
There's just a good young core on this roster. You talk about Jalen Haggard and Kylie Coleman and Mallory McConkey. Those three really have built a good backcourt for the rest of this team to play with as a young core group of players. You add in the seniors, McAndrews, who's a great shooter, Kaylani Mayava, who's got the ability to play well inside along with Dentlinger. Both of them, kind of get to bang it up inside. And now, you've talked about Austin Meyer's talked about even yesterday at the coaches show, he talked a little bit about he wants to bring in these 4- and 5-year players, these girls that can come in and build through this program, can grow with this program, much like the men's team has done thus far under Coach McCollum. He wants to bring that over to the women's team, and I think he's going to do a good job of finding those kinds of players, the kinds of girls that will be here for 4 or 5 years, that will really be able to make an impact all the way through their careers here, and he's got a good base to work with to start with as well.
Yeah, he does, and I think he's going to bring in a handful of recruits. I think this recruiting class is going to be pretty big that he's going to bring in. He's been working hard to recruit girls to come to Northwest this late in the recruiting season, but he's still going to try to flip some girls and try to get them to come to Northwest. And it should be, I think, a pretty good-sized recruiting class that might surprise a few people.
And one of the things that he talked about on the coaches show yesterday was that it's a little bit different recruiting the women's side than it is the men's side. He said that a lot of times on the women's side, a lot of the girls make up their minds a lot earlier in the process. He said there are some girls that are committed, like in the class of 2021 already. At this time on the men's side, there are usually a lot of guys that are, still deciding, haven't committed anywhere yet. He said here he's really been looking at the girls that have looked at D1 and aren't quite getting what they're looking for on D1, and then have now come back to Division II and are kind of late in the game because he said it's difficult to recruit with women's basketball because a lot of them make up their minds so early.
And a lot of it because just biologically, women kind of develop a little bit faster, so their skills are already kind of refined by the time they get to a sophomore in high school, so you kind of know what player they are. Sometimes guys, they mature later, and whether it's senior of high school or even sometimes in the year into college before they really just blossom. So that's one of the things you kind of see there, some of the late recruiting with men more so because guys can sprout up from 5'8" to 6'4", and I was like, oh, look, now he's a D1 athlete or something like that, or a D2 athlete, so it kind of depends there. So, but I like what they're going here, so we'll see him recruiting around campus, bringing girls on campus visits and stuff like that. So we'll have more for you once recruits start coming in. Also, the men's side, they've already, I think, landed at least 4 recruits that I've heard of, 3 guards, and I think a stretch 4 as well. So they're trying to restack the decks after losing one of the best guards that we've ever seen in D2 basketball.
And I'll tell you what, that group of 3 guards that they've recruited between Drew Blair and Diego Bernard, Xavier Rhodes, those 3 guys are all ball players. They're all really good at what they do. Bernard's an incredible athlete. Drew Blair's a great shooter. You know, you've got these guys that are really going to, I think, be able to come in and make an impact relatively early. They'll probably redshirt next year. We'll just kind of see how that falls. But even if they don't redshirt, I think they'll be able to make an impact early. They're all very good basketball players.
And then, of course, I think it's Olathe Northwest. Luke Waters, the 6'5" stretch 4, is the other guy in this class. So very well decorated class as well. I believe Drew Blair was all state up in Iowa, like the entire state, like all the classes. Like he was up there with other D1 guys for the first team. So very talented guy coming to Northwest next year.
Yeah, and a guy that averaged like 28 points per game this season as a senior. He shot almost 60% from the field for the season. I mean, his numbers are incredible. So he's really going to have an opportunity to make an impact. In fact, I think he might have shot more than 60% for the year.
That's what's going on in Bearcat Athletics. We'll take a break. When we come back, a little thing called Opening Day happened yesterday, and Kramer was really happy about that. We'll take a break and be back and talk about that next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KNWT Channel 8. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I am Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Kramer Sandstone as baseball started yesterday. If you guys didn't realize it, through your Twitter feeds, Facebook, and televisions, baseball's back in Major League Baseball. Opening day yesterday, the local teams, the Cardinals and the Royals, did not fare well. The Cardinals lost to the Mets, and the Royals lost their home opener to the White Sox 14-7. So, yeah, what do you guys think of opening day so far?
It's great. That's the first thing I'm going to say. It's great. Baseball's back, and it's going to be here for a long 6 or 7 months. It depends on who you watch. But yeah,
6 for the Royals fans.
Yeah, 6 for the Royals fans.
It's going to be more like 3. Let's be honest with ourselves.
No, but baseball's back. I'm excited. Got to see all the games play. No, I didn't watch all the games play, but got to see like all the stats for my fantasy baseball team going on, and be like, oh wow, there's all these stats going. I'm a stat guy for baseball, so why not?
Plenty of them to go through with baseball with their stats.
Speaking of stats, the Royals, Royals and White Sox game. Davidson is on pace to hit 486 home runs for the season after he hit 3 against the Royals, as all of them were shots, except for I think his last one was like a line drive out of there.
He has 29 career home runs before yesterday, so
he's on pace to break some records. If he's on pace like this, he's easily the home run king.
After he hit the 3rd home run, this was Royals fans' reactions.
Oh, no! We suck again!
I'm sorry, I had to play that. Yeah, so it could be a long year. The hitting wasn't bad for the Royals. Their bullpen really failed them late in that game versus the White Sox. They just really took a 4-0 lead, and then that didn't last long. And then it kind of went downhill from there for the Royals, losing 14-7 to the White Sox. Danny Duffy allowed 5 runs through 4 innings, had looks like 5 strikeouts. So, Jacob, you're a Royals fan, right? Let's get your reaction about the Royals.
It's time to turn the attention to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Already.
I mean,
wow.
This is what happens when you don't have a pitching staff.
Yeah.
At all. When Danny Duffy is your ace, come on now. That guy's not ace material.
He's fantastic.
No. No, he's not.
In big game, James didn't do too bad against his former team.
No, he played pretty well. He had 6 innings, 4 earned runs, no strikeouts, only 1 walk, though. Very efficient.
Yeah, but with the Royals, they're going to be lucky to get 75, 80 wins. It's
I think
not.
they'd be lucky to get 70.
Yeah.
On pace,
It's-
they're about to lose every game.
It's
I
tanking
know.
season.
But Royals, they're in complete rebuild mode right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's what should be expected. I think a lot of reactions from fans have been a little bit more positive than they should be. Just hoping that maybe they're a little better than they're going to be, but it just does not look good for the Royals already.
And with the Royals, a big name for the Royals out for about 4-6 weeks, maybe 4 months. Who knows?
That Salvador Perez luggage. As soon as that came down on Twitter that he was out for 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL injury, this is what Royals fans were saying.
Oh no! We suck again!
With Perez going down, so now you have either Drew Patera or Gallagher as your catchers for the Royals right now. So could be a struggle for the first month and a half of the season for the Royals to try to get. And one thing with having a really good catcher, it can settle down your pitching staff a little bit, and they can pitch a little bit better. You see that with the Cardinals with Molina at times, where he can kind of pitch them a good game to get them where they need to be. And you don't see that right now with the Royals. It can be Drew Patera didn't have that repertoire with the pitchers right now for the Royals. That could be a real struggle. And one of the other issues with Salvador Perez being out of the lineup, besides his bat and his defense, just managing the pitching staff could be difficult for the Royals.
Yeah, and then with Butera, he's been on the team for a couple of years now. And he's not a bad catcher. He's a good defensive catcher. His hitting could be coming around pretty soon. We'll see with more at-bats that he'll have since Salvi won't be there. But, yeah, it's good to see young guys for the Royals step up and, potentially move on from their careers and have a better year. But once they leave Kansas City, kind of like with most of the players that come through the system in Kansas City. But, yeah.
I think the scariest part for Kansas City fans is Salvador Perez. 4 to 6 weeks is
That's a long time.
well. That and it's honestly for a grade 2 MCL tear is a little quick.
Yeah.
It's a partial tear of the MCL. There's a lot of risk that's involved with that, especially for a catcher who the knees are always the first things to go on a catcher anyway. 4 to 6 weeks seems a little short.
So I have a feeling on this that he already. I bet he tore this in spring training and he didn't tell anybody, and it just went when he went to pick up his luggage. Like I feel like that's exactly what happened.
You don't think it was stairs?
Because everybody plays hurt. Because look at Yoenis Cespedes, he plays every single game last year hurt until they actually force him to be on the DL. So everybody just who loves baseball, loves playing the game, and they want to keep doing it. They will play through as much pain as they can just to keep playing.
I just feel like with a partial tear of anything in the knee,
Yeah.
it's got to be impossible to play catcher.
Exactly.
You
So
know?
here's the new first baseman for the Royals is Salvador Perez.
Yeah, so that's what's going on right now. And I'm sorry, Royals fans, I seem a little harsh, but the season is not going to look.
It's not going well.
And
It's not going to go well. And you know what?
Guys.
You've had a really good run over the past 4 or 5 years here with your team.
It's over.
And you have to rebuild. You kind of knew this when the offseason happened. You just kind of hope that people like Moose and stuff like that can have really good years individually. That way they can get paid in the offseason. You get draft picks and you try to rebuild that way, or
Not
you
so
trade them,
much.
or you trade them at the deadline and try to get
No,
draft
sir.
picks that way. You are very. You are very down right now, but I think if those guys perform well, you might be able to flip them for something and maybe try to reboot your system that way. Because the Royals farm system right now is not very good.
If Perez can come back and play some good baseball, how much do you read in potentially trading him?
You don't. I don't think
I,
Perez.
I think you would think that, but
It's kind of like
if
the Yachty
that's
situation
the
for
only
Cardinals.
bait that they've got. If Moustakas doesn't come out and play well, all of a sudden you're looking at the only trade chip you have is Salvador Perez. The only way you build more prospects is Salvador Perez.
And as a team, you're running a business, your goal is to win baseball games. That might be something you have to do as much
Right.
as all the Royals fans
I know.
would throw a
'Cause-
riot fit
yeah.
over that. It might be something the Royals need to do to 4 years down the road get better.
Unless Moustakas finds a way to have another career year, Perez is the next to go. Logically. So,
And one thing to look at the Royals now, they're not young. Their average age, this was from Royals Review on Twitter. The average age is of the 25 players in the Royals opening roster was 29.7. Only 5 players under 27. The oldest was Blaine Boyer at 36, and the youngest was Cam Gallagher at 25. Not exactly that young of a team right now, so we'll see kind of what happens with that. Pitching does need to improve, but sometimes you just got to reboot the farm system right now. The farm system is one of the worst rated ones in the National League in the MLB right now. So it's something you need to reboot.
Yeah, absolutely. The farm system is critical, and they need prospects. They need them now. And
you knew that was going to happen after you gave up prospects to get Johnny Cueto and guys like that to make a World Series run, which, by the way, is worth it because you won a World Series. So you knew this was coming. You just didn't want to believe it because you're like, you know what, we're fine. Like, this was come to roost here soon. It just happened to be now.
And so now, much to the dissatisfaction of every Royals fan everywhere, your two options for getting prospects are Duffy and Perez. I mean,
I think you trade Duffy. I don't think you trade Perez. I just don't think you trade Salvi. I think he's just.
But is trading Duffy going to be enough? They need a lot of prospects. Like they need to completely rebuild the farm system.
You can honestly look at Calvin Herrera as also a potential trade.
And you could trade Witt. I mean, Witt's a young guy who's under a lot of control. He could get a lot because he's under control for so many years at a really reduced cost.
And they could easily get at least. I don't think
you'd get a prospect.
You can also possibly get a prospect from Gordon. Honestly, you could potentially,
but it wouldn't be a top level.
No, it won't.
You need top level prospects.
Clear in the books if you trade Gordon.
You have got to have an actual legitimate prospect, which you're not going to get. From
they have Jorge Soler on their team, which is probably one of the potential best players that could possibly come out of this season.
Solar power.
Exactly, because I mean, even when he played for Chicago, he wasn't a bad player, and he's had time last year to go up and down the system.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a strikeout machine.
Yeah, exactly, but still, he's one of the best players on this Royals team.
But I think we've proven in the past that strikeout machines get nothing on the open trade market.
Look at Aaron Judge. He's a strikeout machine plus he's a power hitter, and this is what Soler is.
Well, but Soler doesn't have that kind of power. He has power, but he doesn't have that kind of
Soler power.
I just think Soler would bring you almost nothing on the trade market. Gordon maybe.
That's only
Herrera would get you one top level prospect. Perez would get you two at least. Duffy would get you two at least.
True. No, I completely agree with you on that.
And of course, the Royals do play versus the White Sox tomorrow. Ian Kennedy's on the mound for the Royals.
Age. So their pitching staff is old.
That's not great.
Speaking of pitching staff, former closer for the Royals signed a 1-year deal with the Cardinals yesterday.
And we're going to talk about the Cardinals now. They lost their first game to the Mets. Played well early. The Mets kind of took control late, especially a big fifth inning, scored 5 runs there to win 9-4, and that went over the Cardinals. They did get some runs up on Syndergaard, who did throw 10 strikeouts, but Martinez did not look sharp there in the opening day for the Cardinals.
Now, 6 walks from Carlos Martinez was not the plan, especially if you're going to go less than 5 innings.
Not ideal.
I think you look at the outfield went 1 for 12 on the game. But I think the upside is how many outfields in Major League Baseball is Noah Syndergaard going to do that to? Almost all of them. Yeah, I mean, it's just he's so hard to hit. You look at this outfield and you think, man, he's going to be tough to hit all season long. So I think being able to get 3 runs off him, the latter half of the order with Martinez and Molina both having good games, I think is a good sign, but. I think I don't want to read too much into the struggles of the outfield just because of how good Syndergaard is.
And go Yachty. Good job hitting a 4th home run on opening day in his career, tying the Cardinals for the most in his franchise history with Albert Pujols.
Yeah, and also making his 14th consecutive opening day start at catcher, which is the most in Cardinals history at a single position and 3rd most all time.
But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about from Major League Baseball. We'll have more baseball talk as the year goes on, but we'll go to the NFL next, and a well-known player was just released from an AFC West team. We'll get Kramer's reaction next here on KNWT Channel 8.